Hey guys, it's a new year, it's a new us. Welcome to the So Sad Tuesday Talk, formerly known as So Sad Sunday Podcast. Or you can now abbreviate it to SSTTBB.
Oh my god.
It was a solid intro, and then you stumbled.
SSTTBB. Okay.
No.
Okay, fine.
We're gonna
okay,
go with
fine.
that. It's okay.
So Sad Tuesday Talk. Welcome, guys. It's Jessica.
Nate,
Lucas?
Erik.
you guys sound so sad.
We're so sad.
I mean,
I'd rather
you
be
not realize
sad
our
than
channel,
you
man?
calling me gay the entire podcast.
I have never called you gay. First of all,
Except in the general chat.
well, no one's reading that. So
what nobody
that doesn't
knows is
count.
that we have a chat where literally Nate's been doing nothing but calling Erik gay.
It's funny because Alice is typing something right now.
No. See, some asshole.
All right, first on the board, what do we
Anyway,
got?
so first
We're
thing
hating on Erik.
True, which isn't abnormal at all. So first thing we're gonna do. So the format changed from the previous podcast. So we're gonna start out with announcements. So things we want to tell the people, or like news and whatnot. So I have a couple announcements. This week or this past week was Awesome Games Done Quick. And what that is, it's a community of gamers who like to speedrun games. Basically beat games as fast as they can, and people watch and they get to donate. And the money that gets donated is given to a charity. It is given to the Prevent Cancer Foundation. So, this event, because there's two events, it's bi-yearly. They raised $2,268,954.96.
Damn.
If only it had been 69 cents instead.
True. And then
But that's amazing.
It was a really cool event, really fun to watch. We also were watching the Overwatch League. Me and Jessica have been watching it pretty closely.
We split our time pretty evenly between AGDQ and Overwatch League.
Pretty much.
We clearly have no lives.
Jessica, did you want to go over the Overwatch League, or do you want me to do it?
You can do it.
Okay. So, I'll just talk about every game, or all the games for each day, and I'll tell you which teams won or lost. So, they started on Wednesday, January 10th, and the games were San Francisco Shock played the LA Valiant. Shanghai Dragons played the LA Gladiators. Dallas Fuel played Seoul Dynasty. And the records for that were San Francisco lost to LA 0-4. Shanghai lost to the other LA team 0-4. And Dallas lost to Seoul 1-2.
We're really pulling for Dallas, and Dallas really let us down. We thought maybe they could beat the Koreans, but you know.
Yeah, like Dallas has two of our favorite players, but they have not been winning.
From what I heard, the Los Angeles Valiant, they're looking pretty good so far.
They're looking very good. Very good.
LA Valiant and Seoul are probably the top two teams right now.
Yeah,
I think they're going to probably be the contenders most likely.
I want to see them play each other.
Hopefully, we'll see. So Thursday's games were, I'll just say the games and the outcomes. London beat Florida 3-1. Philadelphia beat Houston 3-1, and Boston
3-2.
Oh, 3-2. I'm sorry. Boston lost to New York 1-3. And then Friday the 12th, LA Valiant beat Dallas 3-0. Florida lost to Boston at 0-4. San Francisco beat Shanghai 3-1.
Woo! Root for the home team.
That team sucks.
Oh, shut up! They won.
Sorry, I can't.
Sounds like the Kings.
Stop drinking. Stop drinking haterade, Nate.
I'm sorry. Korea #1. So Saturday the 13th, London beat Philadelphia 4-0. New York beat Houston 3-1, and Seoul beat the LA Gladiators 4-0. So that's the matchups of Week 1, Stage 1 of the Overwatch League.
Hmm.
So yeah,
I'm super excited for the league, though.
yeah, it's fun.
It's really cool. It's kind of, I like it because I don't know. It's well, other than the fact that I'm obsessed with the game, um, you know, it's really fun to watch. And like the games have been, even though they may seem a little bit one-sided, like for example, who was it who played LA Valiant versus Dallas Fuel, I think, when it was 3-0, that game was still super intense. Um, and they like went to like what was it, triple overtimes or something
They're like
in
double or
two of the
triple.
matches.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah, it was insane. But they're so exciting and they're so skilled, and it just makes me sad because I'll never be as good as them.
Yeah, like they're really good games. I mean, some of the best players in the world. So,
Hmm.
Eric,
But
did you have an announcement you wanted to make about
No, I'm good right now.
Oh, okay. So in that case, we can move to the next topic or the first topic.
okay, so the way that we're structuring it is that we're starting the podcast with our announcements, and then we'll move on to the topic of the podcast. And this time we're going to talk about microtransactions. And for those of you who don't know what microtransactions are, they are basically a business model where people can purchase uh, like items within the game via micropayments, and they're usually used a lot of times. Like if you download an app for free, there's a lot of in-game purchases you can make. But then there's also in games like Overwatch and like Star Wars Battlefront, which will be probably the two we focus on in this podcast. There's loot boxes that you can purchase, and there's been a lot of debate and controversy over these microtransactions as of late, and the way that they're affecting gameplay. So I
Mhm.
don't know if anybody has anything they want to say to start off the conversation.
Well, the one thing that we were it's really going around is buying loot box, is it gambling? That was one of the biggest things that was going around. I know.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Lucas.
No, I was agreeing with you on that.
Yeah, like there's a big controversy, specifically with Battlefront 2, where the loot boxes in that game they actually affect in-game gameplay. They give you buffs like in your vehicle, weapons, or whatever, and they basically change the game. Most games that have loot boxes have items that are purely cosmetic. They don't do anything. They just look cool. But in the case of Battlefront 2, it was game breaking. It give you insane buffs or it was cosmetic. It was one of the two, but the fact that it changed gameplay was why people didn't like it. So,
To give an example, this was going around a little bit before when the big hubbub was coming about. For someone to compete with someone who was putting money into the game would take thousands and thousands of hours. So that kind of gives an idea of how insane the changes were.
yeah.
Well, for, like roughly too, like if you wanted to get like a hero out of like Battlefront, the one of the things people were calculating and like found out that to unlock like somebody like Darth Vader in that game, it would take like about around 40 hours just to unlock him versus just getting him out of the loot box, which you can just buy a bunch of them and probably get better chances of that.
I think
Mhm.
too that they were saying that you could buy the actual player card outright for $80,
Oh yeah.
which is a little bit ridiculous considering you've already spent about that much on the game itself.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things is like there was an era of where people were wanting to play free to play games, but some of these free to play games weren't even worth playing because they were essentially pay to win. So even if you play the game for free, no matter how much you grind it, it would take you forever to get some of the best gear or best items or whatever. Versus someone could microtransactionally buy the items and then be the best player on the server in the game. And that made some games virtually unplayable if you didn't want to put money in them.
What's funny too is most recently I just found out with Destiny, because they have these things where they're called Ingrams, where you can get like cosmetics and mostly and like some guns and stuff like that, but it didn't really affect the game too much. The thing was people got pissed off is Bungie was throttling the XP for your leveling, so it would make it harder to earn those Ingrams. So it would make you want to buy them. So people were really pissed off about that. They put out an apology and everything. So yeah, don't throttle your game. That's how you piss people off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not cool, man. The most disliked comment I believe ever on Reddit had to do with the response of one of the developers or somebody from the Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront team, and about the microtransactions, and people were pissed because the problem is it's fine if it's just like a cosmetic thing, in my opinion, because like you buy something to look pretty and it's one thing, but if you're actually buying an advantage within the game, it's a little ridiculous considering you've already, especially on a game like Star Wars Battlefront where you've already spent like a ridiculous amount of money to buy the game up front,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
so it's it's a little bit ridiculous. They've From what I understand, they've turned off in-game purchases entirely within Star Wars at this point.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Because they just couldn't find that balance.
They couldn't find the balance, and they got such huge backlash from the
Mhm.
community. It was like, why is this a thing? Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah,
know?
but now it's like brought forth this argument of whether or not stuff like loot boxes, because that's kind of like the center of the controversy,
Mm-hmm.
if that is qualified as gambling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what your guys' takes are on it. Do you?
So, like, when it comes to, like, games like Overwatch, and I don't know all the games that have it, but any game that has loot boxes, for the most part, they're cosmetic. And if you want to spend money on the loot boxes for cosmetic items, it's totally fine. Because at the end of the day, those items are just for you. The problem I have, and this is when CSGO had its big kerfunkel, it was with their online skin gambling thing that was going around. There were several sites where you could put your skins from Counter Strike up to gamble, pretty much. And because the thing about the Counter Strike skins, even though they're purely cosmetic, people actually bought them for real money and sold them for real money. So in that case, buying loot box or the crates in that game that got you skins that you could sell for real money, then that would be gambling, because then people would gamble those skins on websites. And there was this big controversy where like big streamers created websites or online gambling websites for skins, and they would say, hey, they would advertise and be like, hey, come use this site because it's another gambling site you can use for your skins. But they would edit it to where they could manipulate it so they could win and just pretty much take people's money.
Yeah. I was gonna say, because like I know the story you're talking about, Nate. It was the whole thing with the CS:GO lottery between it was Trevor Martin and Syndicate.
Yeah.
Yeah, to give a little bit more like to say is yeah, they both do own the website, and they were what's it called, taking 8% winnings already from all the lotteries. So that's, I think it was like $80, $87, something like that.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
they made
and
a lot
so
of money off of it.
yeah, they made a lot of money on it. And like what Nate's saying, like you said, they were promoting it and not really saying that they own the website, even though they did.
Yeah, they were saying like we're not sponsored or we don't know this, or whatever. There's something to the point where like we're not really affiliated with the website, but then someone did digging and was like, wait, this dude owns this website. What the fuck? So,
yeah, and so then, and the thing too is they would like you also said too is like as far as like they were would be betting and they would be live streaming it, showing themselves, and then they would like I said, they would affect the winnings and their chances of winning the money.
Yeah, and
Weren't
there was
they
a
also?
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say I don't fully understand what happened, honestly, with the whole CS:GO thing, and I think part of that is just because I don't play that game.
Yeah.
But weren't they asking for the odds, or what, like forcing basically the gambling sites were getting these streamers to gamble on their sites and telling them what items they were gonna get? Is that what was happening?
No, so what was
So it
happening
wasn't
was
gambled?
they were basically promoting the website, because when you gamble onto the website or any lotteries game or any lottery site for that matter, you would put in like whatever skins, and depending on how much you put in would give you a better percentage or chance of winning that pot, right? Because you're putting all the items in a pot. If you put in more money or more value into the pot, you have a better chance of winning. What basically they were doing is they were manipulating it to where people would lose and they would just get those skins and then sell them online. Or what they would also do is if they were streaming it, they would sell it like, oh man, this website is so cool. Look at all the stuff that I'm winning. Look at all the big pots that I'm winning. But they were manipulating it to draw you in to say, hey, I'm winning on this site. So if you bet on this site, you may win big too. When it was a lie, you know?
Yeah. The thing that what made it worse too is the fact that it was unregulated gambling, and what made it even worse than that was it was underage gambling, which nobody wants that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's what mostly got in trouble.
Yeah. Because that's when CSGO was on the rise. Like when CSGO came out, it got a huge, I guess, audience or gamers to play it, you know. And so
it was the lower level. It was the lower level guys that were like starting to get more attention because of the gambling or whatever. So it brought in more audience because people of lower levels, I think, were more apt to be a part of it because of the basically the psychology behind gambling, I think, right?
Yeah, because the thing is, like, around that time, most streamers who were playing CSGO, they would play CSGO for like an hour or two, and then the other hours, they would do CSGO lottery on various sites.
Yeah, wasn't it the thought process, the more you play, the more you pay, right? So if you're more involved in the game, the more you're going to pay for that game.
Yeah.
Which is why they've done the whole gambling concept, because it's like a casino, because bright
That's
lights,
why,
no windows, you lose track of time. And
And it was later too that like Steam eventually caught wind of it and basically put cease and desist and basically closed out all those gambling
They
sites.
shut it all down.
Yeah, they shut it all down.
I thought there was one that was still open.
No.
I think there's still some that are open, but they still keep. I think there's like one or two are still open. I heard.
Think there's one,
but they said they're like, oh, we're closing eventually, or I was like, but it's been a while since then, so they may be closed by now.
I would assume that they're closed because like it's still gambling at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's like I wanted to kind of bring up like because the good example as far as like with the loot boxes, and I think the company that does it best is Blizzard with Overwatch. The way how they do it's just purely cosmetic, and that's it. And
yeah, like with Overwatch, I don't really see it very much as gambling because it's not that difficult to win the loot within the game.
Yeah, loot boxes in the game.
Yeah, and it's not like they have different values within. So like all your loot boxes are the same, right? In terms of chances of what you're getting, regardless of if you bought it or if you won it within the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? Other companies like EA in particular suck. They can't figure out with Star Wars, even with games like FIFA, like they can't figure their shit out.
Oh yeah, FIFA 2, yeah.
FIFA's terrible.
Yeah, they're terrible with those coins.
It's so bad. And I don't know if it's purely greed or if it's that they are trying to find a balance and just failing miserably at it.
I think it's just mostly just trying to get the money out of it to the people who can exploit the game for the most part.
Yeah.
Right.
It goes back to what... Oh, go ahead, Dirk.
There's a big problem is that a lot of these games no longer cost, whatever amount of money to make them these days. And so they have to make up the cost other ways because
exactly.
Games are no longer, $60 each to make for the actual company, since there's so many other options out there. And so they have to make up their money some other way. And microtransactions is the best way.
Yeah.
I understand the concept and the necessity of microtransactions today in gaming. Like I definitely understand the concept behind it, especially with online gaming in order to keep people coming back because they're doing so much development. For example, just because I play Overwatch so much, they're always coming out with new characters and new maps and new skins. And so that obviously requires a lot of money in terms of development and costs and QAing and engineering and everything else. And so microtransactions are a great way for them to supplement for that. My issue is, again, like when it goes beyond cosmetic and it goes into actual gameplay, because then in my mind, it's less fun,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
like I don't want to just sit there and grind for hours.
Well, the thing is, one of the big problems is that like gaming companies now are trying to monetize and capitalize on everything.
Yeah.
Whether it be like loot boxes, DLC, everyone's trying to make more money off of content, which I understand from a business perspective, but from the consumer's perspective, it's like,
It's terrible.
are you basically selling me an incomplete game? Like
Yeah.
when Street Fighter 5 came out, granted I love the game.
Oh yeah.
I think it's a great game, to be honest. One of the better fighting games out there. The fact that the roster was so small and they told you they were coming out with new characters, it's like, why didn't you just come out with those characters with the base game?
Yeah. And then
Why do
don't you
I
have to pay like $20 just to buy one even sometimes?
It's so this is what they do. They say they release the new character and they say you could buy this character for $5, or you could buy this season pass for these set characters only for X amount. But then they say, oh yeah, we're gonna release more characters and you can buy them individually, or you can buy another season pass for X amount. And it's like, why are you guys just selling incomplete games now? Like, even though I play Rainbow Six Siege now, it's the same thing, you know?
Yeah. Okay,
Sorry,
Jessica.
go ahead, Lucas.
No, I was gonna say as far as with releasing like characters or DLC or stuff, like I said, it's like it just kind of feels like lately now. Actually, it just pretty much feels like games are always sold incomplete now, and it just feels like, well, it's just like from the start, it's like, why didn't you release this game in the first place? I mean, if you had all this stuff, I think the game would have sold better. And like I said, Jessica mentioned as far as like that they put that stuff out so you can come back and play it more. So it has that both that aspect as far as, yeah, there's more to the game, and it's like, oh, well, this game has more stuff now. Come back and play it again. So that's what it kind of feels like sometimes.
Yeah, but then it's like, hey, come play it again, but you're gonna have to pay for the content if you want to play it.
Yeah.
I will say,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I grew up playing The Sims, which I think is a really good example of games being sold at a base level and you being able to purchase additional types of game packs, basically, that will give you different things, and there's different costs associated with the game packs. And I still play The Sims today, and I know that from my perspective, having grown up with that, where you start off with the base game of The Sims, and then you can buy fun expansion packs like Hot Date and Vacation and Seasons and Pets, and you can add all of this extra content to your game. I don't have any issues with that necessarily. But then again, it's also not an online game, and it's not a multiplayer game.
Yeah.
It's something in terms of personal experience. And I think maybe that's where there is a difference in terms of DLCs and in-game content. Because I feel like having experienced a little bit of both worlds, that in like role-playing games and like single player or multiplayer offline games are, I feel like, more balanced in terms of what they offer than an online multiplayer game.
Yeah, as you're saying, like, for instance, Skyrim.
Yes, I
Right.
love. Oh, my heart and soul.
Well, the
The
good thing
love
about
of my life.
the good thing about like games like Skyrim is the fact that it's a full experience and you can be satisfied
Yes.
with the game. But then when you get this DLC, there's like, hey, if you want to keep the game a little bit, there's more stories. Like, well, this was a long game, and you want more out of it. And like another game that did a good example of that was the Mass Effect series. You know, I love that game
Yes.
to death. And, a little bit biased there. I love that game to death.
Just a little
But
bit.
and like the good thing about like Mass Effect was the fact that it did feel like a complete experience for me, and the fact that, hey, we have more DLC to come out with it. I'm like, oh, good, I want to buy this because I actually like this game a lot. And then like another thing too, as far as like, just to bring it back to the whole what's it called, with the loot box and everything, because in the multiplayer in Mass Effect 3, the cool thing, and I know Eric, if you want to chime in about this, the cool thing about this game was it was a cooperative play. And the fact that they do offer like things like loot boxes, and it did affect the outcome of how you play the game, but it was more cooperative and it helped a lot more.
Yeah, because they would not. They did introduce a little bit of weapons, but most of the time they introduced characters. Like they'd add like a Krogan warrior, or they add Quarians, or Batarians and whatever. So they add like different races from the game that you wouldn't actually get to play inside the game. And so that was cool because it gave you more content that you would not have normally been able to access. And since it was a cooperative type game where it was just kind of like waves, it was pretty much endless playtime. You could just keep going, keep going, keep going, and it wasn't like you were paying to win. It was just paying to have fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the difference lies, is because, as far as I understand it, Mass Effect, correct me if I'm wrong, Mass Effect was not an online game.
No.
Okay. I think that's where things get tricky, is when you start to get into online gaming, because then I think that brings us back to the idea of pay to win and gambling and all of that
And
that's
like
associated with it.
microtransactions.
Yeah, but that's what sets a company apart as far as like you guys are paying to help each other versus hey you're paying to win. That's like
Right.
that's the big draw to say it.
Quick
I
question
think
for
you're
you
right.
guys.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jessica, if you want to finish your thought, but I wanted to
No,
go.
I don't have a thought
Okay.
to finish.
Okay. I haven't really played Candy Crush, but I have read a couple articles.
Oh my god, I
on it.
fucking love.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But if I correct me if I'm wrong, for if you guys have actually played or you know more about it, you have to pay for lives, or you have to wait like 24 hours to until your lives reset. Correct?
Yeah,
for the
so
most part,
Candy
What
Crush.
What do you guys consider in regards to paying to play type games? And I feel like it kind of banks off human, I don't know, the need to continue to move forward.
Kind of
I
like
have so
addiction,
much to
more or
say
less.
about Candy Crush. I
Can
have
I
so
just-
much to say.
Can I make just a quick just note about a quick
By
thought is
all
the fact that
means.
it's just with those games and a lot of like app games is they have more stamina. Like things like Fire Emblem Heroes, that's the same thing where it's like you want to play more, you have to wait, or you could buy more to keep playing the game.
Yeah, like
And I played a
buy
lot of games
energy
where
or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, buy energy, yada. It was all that kind of stuff. So I mean, that's the big difference. But the thing with Candy Crush is there was incentive as far as going to Facebook and recommending people to get more energy to keep playing.
Okay, so Candy Crush is a special case.
This is gonna be good.
It's with it real quick.
So years ago, when it first came out, there was a lot of debate about the same stuff that we're talking about right now in terms of microtransactions, because you had kids going in who were spending a crap ton of money using their parents' credit cards,
Oh,
and
yeah.
their parents were racking up these huge bills. I mean, like thousands of dollars in in-game microtransactions in Candy Crush. And Candy Crush, the way that it is designed 100% to be just like those casino games. There's there's different colors, there's different rewards, there's always movement on the screen, and there's like sounds that go off at different times that just make you feel good. And so all of that stuff put together psychologically is using the exact same theories that casinos use.
Why do you
in
sound so
their-
passionate?
because it's so fascinating to me that they were able to get away with this,
Yeah.
because I mean, it's not gambling. I don't think it's gambling by any means, because it's you pay money and then you're paying to
You're
play
paying for
more.
yourself, basically.
Yeah, so you're not gambling. It's not like it's anything that's sort of like any sort of chance or odds associated with it.
Mhm.
You just basically pay to play more and to play sooner. But the way the game is designed, it's designed to make you like crave that, like, oh man, like I'm out of lives. I need to go just one more. I can spend like 50 cents on this. I can spend $1 on this and get 5 more lives and keep going for another hour. Like, and then you just rack up that bill. But it's just the way it's designed.
I
Oh,
think
man.
that's the thing with all the mobile app games, is that they're all designed like that. I mean, you look at games like Clash of Clans or the card game version or whatever.
Or
It's the same
Facebook games
thing.
used to be the same way too.
Yeah,
like
like
they-
Tetris Battle.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
God.
incentive is you can play the game, but you can also put money to play the game more. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I also have Animal Crossings right now, and that has in-game purchases to it. Hey, don't laugh at me. This shit is
Sorry.
cool,
I'm
okay?
sorry.
Animal Crossings on my phone is cool. And people, surprisingly, still play Pokemon. That also has in-game purchases, but
It
I
does.
don't know anybody who spent any money on those games, which is kind of sad.
I know hella people who spend money on all those games.
Yeah, I know a couple of people. Well, the app games are like, I know, like, I'm not sure if, like, correct me. It's like I feel like there's a big difference between an app game than playing a actual like AAA title game.
Yeah, because I think like
Well,
because
They
like the
I mean,
app
use
games
the
like
exact
there's
same
still
ideas.
there's
It's the
still
same
full
idea, yeah.
games. Yeah, there's still full games, but you have incentive to get a little extra more versus like AAA games where it's like,
It
all
should be
right, you're
done.
not really getting a full game of what you're paying for. It's like we're gonna give you most of the game. By the way, here's more of it, but you have to pay for it. Or rather, here's the rest of the game, but you have to pay for it. You know what I mean? It's slightly different.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm bringing it back to Overwatch right now, but I think the great thing about with Overwatch, it has a nice incentive to come and get the loot boxes because they do have the arcade mode where you can win 3 loot boxes for the most part pretty easily, or it may be a bit of a grind, but
Yeah.
at least you can win them instead of grinding out those levels.
yeah. The one thing that I do want to ask is where you guys stand on loot boxes in terms of gambling. Outside of CSGO, there's been conversation about the loot boxes being a form of gambling, and what your thoughts are on that necessarily.
Everybody want to kind of throw an opinion out real quick?
I mean,
Not
I
everyone at
don't.
once.
Well, not at once. I mean,
Yeah.
I think what's really interesting is that the argument against it is that the items won through loot boxes have no value. And that in itself is an interesting argument because depending on who you speak to, they will have value.
It also depends on the game. Like CSGO,
Yeah.
well, obviously, besides CSGO. But CSGO is just like people made those skins worth money. You know?
Right.
And the thing is,
Right.
like, it can happen to any game. I don't know what happened with CSGO in particularly, but it can happen with any game. Once you give those. I think what it is that the fact that you can gift those skins to other people, you can't
Yeah.
gift loot boxes or skins in Overwatch to other people. You can't do that.
oh yeah, you can.
You
Yeah,
can?
How do
Yeah,
you
you can
gift?
gift that. You can gift with loot boxes to people.
Okay,
Oh
but you
no,
can't
but
give
like
skins.
skins.
though.
Oh,
Can't give
skins. No. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
but you can't give specific skins to anybody.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference because with CSGO, you can buy like a super rare skin and give it to somebody. I think that's what gave it a monetary value, and that's how the whole fiasco lottery system started.
So then would you argue that the loot box in it of itself is not a form of gambling, but it's what takes place afterwards that is the gambling?
I would say so because like even in CS:GO, the crates aren't worth anything. It's the skin inside the crates, you know.
I would say it's not gambling just because the fact that you can't give it to anyone, so therefore it has no monetary value. The only reason that CSGO actually had that monetary value, as mentioned before, was because you were able to gift the skins to people. So you're purchasing something to get something. There's no gambling involved. I saw an interesting article that are in the ones that we did for research that mentioned games such as like Magic the Gathering, where you buy a pack to get the cards inside, would also, if they use that slippery slope analogy, would also be considered gambling because you buy a card pack, 15 cards, whatever, and you're trying to get the cards.
And you can
from
sell the
them.
cards.
And if
Yeah.
you even
But-
wanted to go even more ridiculous, just say, oh, I bought a bag of Skittles and I didn't get I got mostly this color, but I didn't get this color. You can extend the argument to make it sound that ridiculous.
I like yellow more than I like orange. God damn it.
Exactly, yeah. And it's like, oh, I didn't get all the yellow. So it's like, how far can you take it?
I'm gonna pay
But
for your yellows.
But the thing is, those are actually different because those actually have monetary value inside.
Yeah.
Because you can actually even trade a Skittle for a penny or whatever. So
Yeah,
that
but
it
and
have
then the same
monetary
thing with
value.
Magic cards. Those have value too, don't
But
they?
loot boxes, since you cannot transfer them to other people, or not the actual loot boxes themselves, but the skins I'm talking about, you can't transfer those to other people, so therefore it has no monetary value.
Yeah,
least
I
within
agree to
Overwatch.
that. I agree to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I mean, there was this skin in CS:GO. I think it was called the Dragon Lore for the op. It was like $1,000.
The fuck?
It was
Yeah.
$1,000. And
It gets ridiculous with CSGO as far as
Well,
those go.
it's the same thing with hats. Like, they had hats in, like, I think what RuneScape
Team-
and Team Fortress 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hats were worth a lot of money, and the only reason they were worth money is because someone assigned a monetary value to them and was able to purchase them. Whereas if you had to buy loot boxes to get the hats, then it doesn't actually have any monetary value.
Yeah,
It can't
I
be
think-
gambling if you're not winning anything that has monetary value.
Yeah, and I think that's what like people outside of it who assigned like, well, people are assigning value is that, therefore it is gambling.
That's
It's
fair.
a
Then do you think that they should then where do you stand? Because for example with CSGO, just because that one's the one that's at the front right now, because of this ability to essentially gamble on these items, it's increased the popularity of the game, and it's increased gameplay, and it's increased audience, viewers. Do you think that they should be required to shut down all, or should they just simply regulate the ability to buy and sell skins?
I think that. Oh, that's a hard one.
No, it should be you don't have to be a certain age to obviously pay or play and buy the skins itself, but they should be able to regulate where you have to be a certain age to enter a lobby where gambling can start.
Occur, yeah.
Yeah. You know, since it's
It's
the same as
easy
if
to
you
lie
do.
on the internet, though.
But
Yes,
even
it
then,
is.
I mean, the fact that you have that,
it has
it's kind of like
some
the
loose
disclaimer
regulation,
over a lot of things. No one really gives a shit about a disclaimer, but you have to have it saying,
Yeah,
this
it's like
is for certain
porn
artists.
sites back in the day where they were like, "Are you over 18?"
They
Like,
still
sure.
have that, Eric.
Yeah,
Don't
they
even
do.
Oh,
lie.
they still have that?
But
Oh,
it's the
I
fact
must
that
be on porn too much.
the fact that it's there. It's saying we are regulating people coming on our sites. Anyone who is 18
That's
or
true.
13 years or something like that. It's out there. That's the thing. But it's like such a loose
They-
regulation.
Yeah, because they do it even with sites like Lagunitas, where you have to verify you're over 21 because they're alcohol.
Mhm.
So
And you
they
just
make you
put the
verify how
wrong
old you
year.
are. You don't even have to put a year. You just have to say yes, I am, or no, I'm not.
Yeah.
Oh, even better.
And it's covering their own asses, I guess, in that point, in terms of a legal point of view, because they're like, hey, we had this disclaimer on here.
Actually,
They agreed to this.
I made to say no. So if you're underage, don't go to that site. I am not telling you to go there.
Yeah.
By the way, don't drink
Don't go on
underage
Lagunitas, sorry.
or
It's
while
not worth
driving.
it. Yeah.
Or while doing anything requiring heavy machinery. Just don't drink. Okay?
I like how Nate's in machinery.
machinery.
Nate may need to lay off the booze a little bit.
Just don't drink. It's bad for you.
Does anyone have any closing thoughts on this issue?
Don't gamble.
Yeah.
But gambling's fun. That's
Hey,
where
See, I don't think
fucking
gambling's
addict.
fun. So I think it's weird that people do this, because in my mind, I'm like, none of this sounds fun. This is my money. I don't want to spend my money on all of this stuff with
That's
the
true.
chance that I may or may not get something that I want. I think it's just dumb. But for others, it's like this massive, amazing thing that they just have to do because
think-
it makes them feel so good.
I
because
think it depends
winning
on
is
like.
fun.
I think it depends on the personality. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna
if
say it
you-
depends on the individual.
Yeah, if you value what you have and you're okay and content with what you have, then gambling obviously isn't going to be for you. But if you're someone who wants more, then I think gambling can potentially become a problem. Because I know people like
Yeah, $200. Let's go. I don't need this money.
coming from the guy who
Crystal
likes
Loot
breaking
boxes.
even at the
Yeah,
fucking
this is
casino.
this is Eric, who's a cheapskate. He's so fucking cheap,
Bro,
but
not
he'll
like
go
this.
and spend $200 at a casino somewhere and lose it all and be fine.
I have
'cause
not
it increases
ever
odds
lost
of not
it
being
all.
cheap.
I have not ever lost it all. Thank you very much. I've always won my money back.
Eric does not know the way to
He
make
broke
more
the
money.
even.
You do not know the way. You do not have the
I'm
fresh
positive.
Ebola.
Okay, guys, I'm up right now for casino, so
How much are you? How much you up?
I'm up about $100.
Wow, that's
Man,
terrible.
this guy will go to Vegas, but he won't go to watch the Overwatch League.
The-
Yeah.
What
No,
a
Eric,
bitch.
I will go for Summer League and casinos, but I will not go for Overwatch
What
League.
a
What a filthy
bitch.
casual.
Oh,
No one
man.
watches Summer League. What the fuck?
I watch Summer League. I gotta
What
go
a
to 11
fuck
games in 3
I know
days.
a couple people who watch Summer League.
Oh.
Well, hey Nate, do you want to tell anyone who's listening what's going to be going on with the new podcast and going forward with SSG?
Do you want to tell them?
I mean, I could. Yeah.
Yeah, go
No,
ahead.
you hang up the phone. No, you
No,
hang up the
no,
phone.
So-
you tell them.
So I know for people who are listening or anyone who's returning to listen to the podcast, is we were gone for I think roughly 6-7 months
Yeah.
from podcasting, and I think during that time I think we had a good enough time to kind of think things over and make this channel
We
more
have
worthwhile
found
and
a way.
take it more. Yeah, found the way to take this more
We got the
seriously.
fresh Ebola and we found a way.
Stop.
So-
Stop. Let's finish this strong. Stop
So-
memeing it.
So
You're
I mean,
mean.
everybody
Okay.
just stay
He's a
tuned.
fake queen. Spit on him, Nate.
No!
Lucas is the true queen.
All right, now shut up and listen to the queen.
Oh my god, what the fuck? All right, let's just get this wrapped up.
All I can tell you is new year, new stuff to come. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah. Jessica, you want to close this out?
Yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us for the first episode of the new year of the new podcast called So Sad Tuesday Talk. SSTT, BB. Good night, everyone.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Good night.
Good night.